NFL, and stop me if you've heard this before. The Browns have a quarterback conundrum. While at the comeback this week, their general manager, Andrew Berry, said that both Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson will be among the quarterbacks competing for the starting job. Dillon Gabriel, who the Browns drafted in the third round last year, is also under contract. Cleveland could also look to bring in another veteran as well. The new head coach is Todd Monken. He weighed in on all this yesterday.
Sure. I think it's an open competition. I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't be an open competition. And I don't mean that saying it harshly, but I don't think there's enough on film over the last couple of years.
What if I told you that one of the most expensive mistakes in NFL history is now standing between a young man's dream and his destiny? Cleveland Browns, a franchise that has been searching for a franchise quarterback since, honestly, forever. And right now, in the spring of 2026, they have two quarterbacks on their roster that couldn't be more different from each other. One is a ghost of what he once was. The other is a kid the whole league tried to sleep on. This is not just a quarterback competition. This is a referendum on how the Cleveland Browns run their franchise. Sit down. We need to talk.
How confident are you that Shedeur is QB1 week 1 for the Browns?
I mean, listen, I guess over 50%. I mean, right now you're talking about between him and Deshaun Watson. Hell, Deshaun Watson hasn't been relevant since 2020. The only thing that's keeping Deshaun Watson on that team is his contract. And so when you talk about those two, I would have to lean towards Shedeur Sanders.
Facts. 100.
I'm telling you that I just went through a week of jealousy that I have to watch all these other teams. Okay, good for Deshaun. Thanks. You got the $230 million set of pom-poms, and you really tried to help develop Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. What'd that get me? 5 games. 5 wins. They were fun. 5 fun wins.
Shedeur won 3.
Shedeur did win 3.
He went 3-4 as a starter.
So some reason for optimism.
That's what you wanted. You asked. I just gave you the answer. What did you get? Well, Shedeur Sanders got a mentor. He got someone in that room.
And we're crediting that all to Deshaun. That all goes to all that credit goes to Deshaun.
I'm not giving him all the credit. I'm just saying, like that's what you're getting out of it. You're getting someone who can hold his hand.
Stop it right now.
I mean, it's a very expensive hand holder, but still.
Yeah, like even if they wanted to play Deshaun Watson this year, they wouldn't be able to introduce the offense at home. People would boo. People would boo the starting offense before the game even starts.
I do think now it's going to be Shedeur and a vet next year. Maybe they can somehow get Kirk Cousins away from the Falcons, and then you let Kirk and Shedeur kind of battle it out in camp next year, that kind of thing. I'm perfectly fine now with this. Just give the guy the keys for this coming week for the last game and give him the offseason to prepare as a starter and build an offense around him. And then let's just see what he can do next year, because if he's good, if he hits the ceiling that we all think he has, the Browns' new window is open much sooner than what it could be, because now you got a 5th-round rookie deal playing quarterback, and you'll have Deshaun off the books in a year.
Well, let's not forget, too, like the name you just said, that vet next year with him will be Deshaun Watson. Maybe they bring in somebody else, but Deshaun Watson will be on this active roster. He will be on the quarterback depth chart. So maybe they just roll in saying it's Shedeur and Deshaun and Dillon, I guess, because we got him for a third. We can't sell him for anything. Nobody wants him because, they saw the tape. That's our quarterback room, which I'm totally cool with. Shedeur said after the Raiders game, imagine what I could do. Imagine what it could be like with an off season to prepare and to be ready for, the season. I want to see that too.
Of course. This is a quarterback room that has a young man who is a 5th-round draft pick who I think had more turnovers than touchdowns last year. Did some good things, Shedeur Sanders, but did some things where that wasn't great. And then you have Deshaun Watson, who hasn't been healthy or good at football in 5 years.
Right.
5 years. So of course this is an open competition. The truth is this: if you're Cleveland and we're talking about the quarterback position.
Let's go back to 2022. The Cleveland Browns made one of the boldest and what many would call one of the most reckless moves in NFL history. They gave Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed 5-year, $230 million contract, the largest fully guaranteed deal ever given to a quarterback at the time. And what did they get in return? 6 games in 2022, missed time, injury, an Achilles tear that wiped out 2024, and a dead cap number that is suffocating this franchise's ability to build around whoever their quarterback eventually is. Let's be real, Deshaun Watson has not played good football in 5 years. 5 years! That's not a slump, that's a new chapter. And yet, because of that contract, the Browns cannot simply move on without paying a massive financial price. He is the ghost in the machine, expensive, unavoidable, and almost impossible to escape. Now, at the NFL Combine this week in Indianapolis, Browns GM Andrew Berry stood up and said that both Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson will be among the quarterbacks competing for the starting job in 2026. Dylan Gabriel, their third-round pick from last year, is also in the room, and they could bring in another veteran. Open competition. That's the phrase they're using. But here's the question nobody in Cleveland wants to answer out loud. Is Deshaun Watson actually capable of competing for anything at this point? Now, let's talk about the other side of this story. And honestly, this is the side that gets the blood pumping. Shedeur Sanders came into the 2025 NFL Draft as arguably the most talked-about quarterback prospect in years. Son of Deion Sanders, built his college resume at Jackson State and then Colorado, had the arm talent, had the leadership, had the it factor. And then, on draft day, the league humbled him. He fell and fell and fell, all the way to the 5th round where the Cleveland Browns finally picked him up.
The nonchalance that Todd Monken had in that answer tells you everything you need to know about the quarterback situation in Cleveland. Remember, they interviewed a ton of candidates and they chose him. And his response is, yeah, it's an open competition. It's nobody's job. When another option could have been, hey, Shedeur finished the season really strong and Shedeur's our guy and let's see if there's competition for Shedeur. No, that's not the case. They have a draft pick, obviously, and they have another draft pick because of Jacksonville trading the first round in the Travis Hunter deal. So you can consider potentially something in the first round there, but you could also consider all these veteran quarterbacks. But Monken not committing to Shedeur Sanders?
Now think about what that does to a young man psychologically. You've been told your whole life you're elite. You've put in the work. You've got the bloodline. You've got the tape. And the entire NFL, all 32 teams passed on you over and over again while the cameras rolled and the world watched. And instead of breaking, Shedeur Sanders went to work. He came in, took snaps, played through a tough situation, and showed flashes of what made people believe in him. Did he have more turnovers than touchdowns at certain points? Yes, the numbers weren't always pretty, but the fight was there, the presence was there, and near the end of last season, he started to show momentum. But here's what nobody in the media wants to say plainly. The Browns drafted Shedeur in the 5th round specifically so they could control the narrative, so they could say it's an open competition, so they could underpay him while paying Watson millions to sit in a training room. And now, new head coach Todd Monken comes in, gets asked directly about the quarterback competition, and doesn't even bother to crown Shedeur as the frontrunner, despite the fact that Shedeur finished the season, despite the fact that Watson hasn't played meaningful football since 2021. That nonchalance, that tells you everything about how the Cleveland Browns view Shedeur Sanders right now. Head coach Todd Monken was asked point blank about the quarterback situation this week, and his answer? Measured. Calm, almost dismissive. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, that it's an open competition and that there's not enough on film one way or the other to hand anyone the job. Now, on the surface, that sounds reasonable. A new coach coming in doesn't want to show his hand, wants to evaluate everyone fairly. Sure, that makes sense. But dig deeper. Monken had the option to walk up to that podium and say, look, Shedeur Sanders came in as a 5th-round pick, started games in the NFL, showed growth, and he's going to get every opportunity to prove he's our guy. That would have been a confidence boost. That would have sent a message. He didn't say that.
If you're Cleveland and we're talking about the quarterback position, your eyes are on 2027, not on 2026.
Meaning?
Your starting quarterback for the future is not even remotely close to being in your room.
So you're talking about the very deep quarterback class of 27. So you go into this year and you play who? Shedeur? And you see if you've got...
You're probably sitting there thinking Shedeur has an advantage of the guys that are there now. But Shedeur is obviously going to have to play at a significantly higher level for Cleveland to sit there and say, yup, that's the guy of the future. Can he? Sure.
He said, open competition, which in NFL speak means nobody is safe, nobody is guaranteed anything, and yes, we might bring in Kylan Murray or some other veteran to take this job entirely. And that's where the story gets really complicated, because sources around the league are buzzing about the Browns potentially bringing in another veteran quarterback entirely. Names like Kyler Murray are floating around. And while Murray in Cleveland feels like a square peg in a round hole given Monken's old-school offensive style, the fact that it's being discussed tells you the Browns aren't sold on anyone currently in that room. Here's the thing that makes all of this almost darkly funny if you're a Browns fan. The real plan isn't about 2026 at all. The front office knows, whether they admit it publicly or not, that this team is probably looking at another year of building, another year of evaluating. The eye is on 2027, when the next deep quarterback class is expected to come out of college football. Think about that. The Cleveland Browns are essentially playing the 2026 season with placeholder quarterbacks while they position themselves for a 2027 draft pick. Meanwhile, they have the 6th and the 24th overall picks this year, and the general consensus is that neither of those picks should be spent on a quarterback. They need offensive weapons. They need pieces around whoever ends up under center. Because the defense is already solid. Last season proved that. It's the offense that is young, raw, and needs structure. So what does that mean for Shedeur Sanders? It means he's in a prove-it-or-lose-it situation where the deck might already be stacked against him. If he lights it up and plays like a legitimate NFL starter, great, maybe the Browns have found their guy and the 2027 plan changes. But if he struggles, they'll use it as justification to move on and start fresh. That's cold, but that's Cleveland Browns football. Here's where I want to slow down for a second and talk about something bigger. Shedeur Sanders is not just a football player. He's a symbol. He's the kid who was counted out, publicly embarrassed on one of the biggest stages in sports, drafted in the 5th round while players with arguably lesser college resumes went in the 1st and 2nd. And he didn't complain. He didn't demand a trade. He went to Cleveland, and he put his head down. If the Browns don't give him a genuine, fair shot, if Watson gets significant reps just because of a contract, or if a veteran gets brought in over him, it sends a message. Not just to Shedeur, but to every young player who's ever been underestimated. And Browns fans? They deserve better than another year of quarterback uncertainty. They deserve to rally around someone. They deserve a decision, a direction, and a reason to believe. Here's where things stand heading into the offseason. Watson's contract situation makes him nearly impossible to cut before post-June 1st without massive cap pain, so he stays. He competes. He either shocks the world and makes a legitimate comeback, which at this point would be the greatest sports redemption story of the decade, or he quietly fades out. Shedeur Sanders will get his shot, but it's not going to be handed to him. He's going to have to take it. Every single snap, every single rep in training camp. He needs to make the decision impossible for the coaching staff to ignore. And Todd Monken, he's walking a tightrope. If he names Watson the starter without a legitimate competition and Watson struggles, he's going to get destroyed. If he names Shedeur and Shedeur isn't ready, same result. The smart play is exactly what he's doing. Open competition, manage expectations, and let the performances speak. But at the end of the day, Cleveland, you've been here before. You know what this feels like. The hope, the uncertainty, the maybe this year is different feeling. The difference this time? You've got a kid in that quarterback room who has nothing to lose and everything to prove. And in the NFL, those are often the most dangerous players of all. If you found this breakdown valuable, share it with a Browns fan who needs to hear the truth. Drop your prediction in the comments. Is Shedeur Sanders the future of this franchise, or is Cleveland headed back to the draft board in 2027? Like, subscribe, we'll keep watching.